season's greetings, happy holidays. Welcome back to Big Balls Fantasy Football. It's week 16. Yes, we're in the holiday spirit here. That's why JENILEE and I are not together. Everybody needs to spend time with their families, of course, and just like at Thanksgiving time, we need to film separately because we have to be with our families and our friends for the holidays. We, in our Big Balls Fantasy Football Show League, have a big showdown coming up. Greg the Beast here, he's fighting for third place. Yes, I am. I lost to Smash last week, who has been in first place the entire season, and she took me out. It was a really, really close squeaker, 149 to 146, and it was all because of Stafford versus Hightower on Monday Night Football. And, hey, we are going to have JENILEE versus Smash for all the marbles. Cash lost in the other matchup this week, so hey, may the best woman win. It'll be nice to have a woman on top in the BBFF League. Smash versus JENILEE. It's going to be really, really tough. Both of them are hard competitors, and I'm going to be rooting from both. So just may the best person win. Good luck to both of you. In my work league, I want to give a personal note to the Detroit Lions for not playing Theo Riddick really at all this week. All I needed was 9 points out of Theo Riddick, and I could be in the finals this week. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Congratulations to you, Damian. I am playing in the third place match up against JENILEE, so I got to play her too this week. Tough competitor, of course, as you know, and has wonderful picks for you here on the show. So, hey, JENILEE, I'm coming for you, all right? I want that third place. I would at least want some money in my work league, damn it. All right, enough of our own personal leagues. Let's get on to your league. You need to win this week, and we are doing, again, studs versus duds. These are my studs versus duds. We're doing two scenarios, and I'm gonna tell you which matchup is the better one to take in these situations. Let's get right on to it. My first matchup is with quarterbacks. We are looking at Phillip Rivers versus Oakland's D on Christmas Eve. This is going to be a tough game, and I know you're saying, I want to get some quick points with Phillip Rivers, and the matchup is fantastic. Oakland gives up the 8th most points to quarterbacks, but hey, this is a rivalry game. We know these are fantasy poison, everybody. It's not a sure thing. Just because it looks good on paper doesn't mean you're going to get those points. Nobody beats Phillip Rivers more than Phillip Rivers himself. And I think he's going to get into his head in this game, and he might put up a touchdown for you, maybe 200 and some yards on the low end. But you really need points this week, and the person you can get that out of is Eli Manning, who's sitting out on a lot of waiver wires. What I'm going to get into in my picks this week are a lot of steals, a lot of people that are sitting out on the waiver wire and are better situational starts than the ones you probably have in your lineups. Eli Manning is playing versus Minnesota that gives up the 13 least points to quarterbacks. That's still a good range in there. Minnesota have given up some 300-point games to some quarterbacks, and Eli Manning can stud out when he wants to. Yeah, he slumped for you in the middle of the season. That's why he's sitting on a lot of waiver wires. But I just like this matchup, and he is streaking his ass off. Eli Manning has had 8 touchdowns and 582 passing yards total in the last 2 weeks. 4 of those touchdowns came versus Carolina, a tough defense last week. So, Phillip Rivers completed 26 of 36 passes for 311 yards and 3 touchdowns with 2 picks last week against the Dolphins. And I know you're saying, well, he's streaking too. No, Phillip Rivers is not. 2 weeks before that, he didn't even get a touchdown. So I like Eli Manning in this pitting of quarterbacks this week. Go up and pick him up off the waiver wire if you have a situation like mine where I have Aaron Rodgers playing. And Aaron Rodgers has not been putting up fantasy points in your playoffs. I'm banking on Eli. I think you should too if you have a bad matchup like I do. Let's move it on to running backs. I have Danny Woodhead of the Chargers versus Bilal Powell over there on the Jets. Danny Woodhead's playing up against Oakland, and I know you're saying, hey, you just told me not to play any players in this rivalry game on Christmas Eve. This is a good situation for Danny Woodhead. Oakland gives up the 11th most points to running backs. Bilal Powell is in a bad matchup against the Patriots, giving up the 5th least points to running backs. Both of these players are probably sitting out on the waiver wires. I know for sure Powell is. He's one of the top pickups this week, and that's because he had a great week last week. He's been Ryan Fitzpatrick's check down guy in 2-minute situations. He caught a big wide open 12-yard touchdown last week. But, I mean, we all know that Chris Ivory has been the dude there. Powell has had a few good weeks being the check down guy. And I just don't think you want to play anybody against the Patriots. Yeah, their defense isn't as good as it used to be, but it doesn't feel good in my gut. What I like is Danny Woodhead, who lost his mind last week. Melvin Gordon went down with an injury, and Danny Woodhead lost his mind, got 1 touchdown and only 10 yards in the running game. But then in the passing game, he went 6 for 6 targets for 50 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Chargers' ass-whooping of the Dolphins. It's just, it's a much better scenario. I think you should go with that one this week. So let's move it on to my wide receivers. One of the big pickups this week is Ginn Jr. on the Panthers, who, of course, has been losing his mind the last few weeks. 6 touchdowns and 285 yards over the last 3 weeks. He's, of course, Cam Newton's speed guy now, and he has been just hauling the long ball to him, dumping off to him as well. The Panthers are playing the Falcons this week, who give up the 2nd fewest points to wide receivers. But I still think this is a good steal. I think you're going to get a lot of points out of them, even though they have a good secondary over on the Falcons. I think that the Falcons are going to get behind in this game, and I think the Panthers are going to strike early and often to Ginn. So I like that one a lot better than Larry Fitzgerald over there on the Cardinals versus the Packers, who give up the 7th fewest points to wide receivers. I'm saying, Greg, that's a better matchup. Larry Fitzgerald, he's a big name. Unfortunately, Carson Palmer has been passing to his other 2 guys, John Brown and Michael Floyd, and losing his mind with the 2 of them. And old man Fitzgerald has not been getting a lot of points for you. Fitzgerald caught 3 of 5 targets last week for 43 yards. And he has just, and that was against a horrible secondary. He has just been not putting up the points in the latter part of the season. Carson Palmer has not given Larry Fitzgerald a touchdown in the last 6 weeks, nor has he given him a 100-yard game. I already gave you Ginn's wonderful, wonderful points. I think he is definitely the better person in these 2 scenarios. Let's move it on to tight ends. I'm going to bring up Will Tye over there on the Giants, and you're saying, who the hell is Will Tye? Never heard of him. He's sitting on your waiver wire. He has been having a great few weeks over there on the Giants, and this week he's playing the Vikings defense, who give up the 15th fewest points to tight ends. That's still way down there on the fewest points ratio for me. Much better than who you'd be looking at, Jordan Cameron, who has been a bust over there on the Dolphins. Just a crappy year for Jordan, who was losing his mind on the Browns and now goes over to the Dolphins and just has not been getting any love from Ryan Tannehill. I don't know if it's the fact that he hasn't been able to get open, or I don't know if Tannehill just isn't looking his way. You're going to look at the 2 names there and you're going to say, oh, Jordan Cameron's sitting out on the waiver wire. I don't know why 49% of people still have him on their teams. Maybe he's sitting on the bench, but he has just been not getting the points. Cameron hasn't broke 50 yards since week 1 with 73 yards. He only has 2 touchdowns and 346 yards. 2 touchdowns and 346 yards this season. Will Tye caught 5 of 8 targets for 43 yards and a touchdown in the Week 15 game against the Panthers. He's had a touchdown in each of the last 2 weeks, and he's totaled 227 yards in the last 3. He has become Eli Manning's check down guy. I already gave you Eli Manning. Why not throw in Will Tye too as well and get your points on both sides of the ball? So finally, let's get to defenses. I am telling you to either use the Oakland's defense at home versus the Chargers again in this Christmas Eve game, or the Detroit D versus the Niners. The San Diego defense gives up the 4th most points to defenses. San Francisco gives up the 5th most points to defenses. Oakland's defense has really turned it on. In the latter half of the season. The defense has recorded 21 sacks over the last 5 weeks. That is the most sacks in that span of time. They've also gotten 5 fumble recoveries. The San Diego offense has not been great, as I was already saying. There are a few touchdownless weeks for Phillip Rivers. You're better off playing somebody like Danny Woodhead that needs to get underneath the Oakland defense and maybe get some short balls thrown to him in check down situations and then getting a lot of yards after the catch. I would definitely take Oakland's D this week against the Chargers in this game. Detroit's D is not a bad one to pick up either. It's a close option, I would say. Detroit's defense has improved, especially in their pass defense. They haven't given up more than 170 passing yards in the last 4 weeks. They're also, it's the Niners offense, really. This is just, it's Blaine Gabbert, who had maybe 1 good week, and now he's been struggling. Nothing better than putting a good rising defense up against a struggling quarterback. So not a bad one to pick up if you need it. If you have a bad situation at defense, Lions might be an option, but I would definitely go with Oakland instead. So that's it, and we're probably going to do a season ender over there at the Tin Horn, our Bears bar. Not a lot of love going over there at the Bears bar. Our Bears have been on a slide, and they've just been sucking. So, hey, maybe we'll get a gift of a new kicker or something like that, but otherwise, we just can't win any games over there in Bears land. So, hey, I'm at least going to celebrate going for 3rd place in both of my leagues. Happy holidays. Hope you get something good under the tree this year and in your stocking. And we will talk to you next week.